Hey everyone, it's Wendy Mack and welcome back to this week's blog. Now on the weekend I had the pleasure of spending a full day working with 14 different women on how to build and grow their businesses through my Growth Club Smart, Savvy and Rich live event. It was a huge honor for me to actually be allowed to join these women on their business journey. But one of the things that actually came out from the day was a real common thing that I kept hearing over and over again. And that was, you know, I've started this business, I was so excited about it, I knew exactly where I was going, what I was going to do to get there. But somewhere along the way, I kind of lost my path. And now I know I should be in business, but I've lost that zazazoo. I've lost the motivation, and I've also lost focus. I'm not really clear exactly how I'm going to tackle this great big beast of a business, how I'm going to achieve what I set out to achieve, and that's where I'm coming unstuck. Now that was something that I kept hearing over and over again. So I thought, you know what? Let's do a blog about this. So in this week's blog, I'm going to share with you 5 tips to help you stay focused, find that focus if you've lost it, and more importantly, to keep the momentum going when it comes to building and growing your business. Now in this video, you're going to see 2 out of my 5 tips, and in next week's follow-up video, I'll share with you the other 3 tips. So let's get started with the first tip. Now, firstly, just like these 14 women did with me, you need to take the time out to actually think about the strategy and long-term big picture goals for your business. Yes, I know you've heard me say this before, planning, 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 but have you actually done the planning? And don't worry if you haven't, because the truth is, most of us avoid doing this. We skip this, even though we know we should be planning and we know we should be thinking about the bigger picture. So just like this group that I was with on the weekend, I'd love for you to sit down and actually take some time out, lock yourself away from the world and the day-to-day of your business operations, and actually think about where you really want to go. For example, with this group, we talked a lot about how they were going to move from a 5 to 6-figure business, and by being able to do that from creating multiple income streams. What happened was this group actually walked out with an actual roadmap of how they were going to get from 5 to 6 figures and the actual products and big picture projects that they need to create or work on in order to do that. This roadmap, this high level picture, gives you the clarity that you need to find out the day-to-day projects and the little finer detail that you should be focusing on in order to get you to your bigger picture goals. But it is crucial that you start and really plan that roadmap out. Now tip number 2 is all about taking your business seriously. And you need to hear me out. I know that you take your business seriously, but the fact is, if you're working from home or if you're a solo entrepreneur and your office is your dining table or your lounge room, let's face it, that can sometimes lull us into a false sense of comfort. It's not that we're not serious about our business, but there is something just so informal about it that we start to get a little bit distracted in our workday. I call this the pajama syndrome, and that's exactly what I sometimes do. Fall into the trap of just waking up my PJs and not actually getting out of them. And you know what that does? That means that I don't take my workday as seriously. So I start to do things like I check social media, or I might be online reading the news. And I bet that happens to you too. I mean, hands up, how many of you take a phone call from a friend, or you email your family to organize the next get-together, or you use your time in your day to plan the next school holiday trip or the next play date for your kids, or you know, you're catching up on some banking that you have to do, paying some bills online, or even just as I said, you know, checking out social media and just seeing what's what. All of that adds up to precious time that we're not actually dedicating to our business, and it also is distracting. It causes us to forget what our focus is and why we're even there in the first place. Now the pajama syndrome, as I call it, is pretty cool. I mean, let's face it, it's kind of fun being able to wake up in your PJs and start your workday without changing or without even having to put a bra on. But the reality is it can actually, just as I said, lull you into a false sense of comfort. So for me personally, I actually wake up daily and I try to make sure that I'm wearing proper clothes with a bra, truth be known, and I also put on a full face of makeup. And I do this every day before 9 AM, even if I'm not going out, and even if it's only the dogs who enjoy my full made up beauty. The reality is I do that because it gives me structure, and that sort of rigor allows me to really take my business a lot more seriously and allows me to feel like this is a proper work day. In fact, on top of this, I often take myself out to a co-working space. Now, these are spaces where you can literally rent a desk for a day in an office environment. And I do this so that I actually just get a different environment, a fresh environment to work in, which takes me away from the distractions of home. I mean, you've probably heard in my blog videos, cars zooming past, dogs barking in the background, all of that can sometimes be distracting. So going into these spaces allows me to really think and focus on my business for a full day without any distractions. And let's face it, you would never do half of the things that you would do at home, like catch up socially on the phone with someone, or make plans for the weekend, or browse on the internet and do a bit of online shopping, if you were working in a proper office environment for someone else. And that's what I find is helpful about having a dedicated co-working day. In fact, I love the concept so much, I'm hosting a pop-up co-work and connect events, especially for women entrepreneurs in Sydney. So if you're in Sydney, come on down, meet other women in business, get invigorated by their perspective and ideas, have a dedicated space that is yours to use all day to work on your business, and then at the end of the day, join me and these other amazing women for some networking drinks so that we can connect and get to know each other. So until next week, when I'll share with you my other 3 tips, drop me a note in the comments area because I'd love to know if this video was helpful. Share it or like it, and also in the comments area, tell me what your PJs look like. What do you have in your PJs? What color are they? Because I really want to know. Until next week, signing off in my PJs. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.